Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to another video. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name's Melissa and around here we do all types of beauty content. Sometimes I throw a little bit of lifestyle in every now and then, but mostly beauty stuff. I do upload 2 videos every week on Mondays and Wednesdays. And for the Monday video, I always like to upload a review and tutorial on my palette of the week. So for this week, we have this palette from BH Cosmetics, and this is called the Avocado Toast. Now this is a palette I have had my eye on for such a long time, and I recently got lucky and found this at a TJ Maxx for a really good price, so I'm very happy to be sitting here and doing this today. So here's what the palette looks like on the inside. As you can see, there is a ton of green in here, so I try to match my shirt to the occasion today. And what we're gonna do with this for the tutorial is try a color blocking look. Now I already did this look on Saturday and I honestly did not like how it turned out, so I'm gonna try it again today and see if it comes out a little better, but I didn't have the best success with this palette. But if you're curious about hearing about my experience with this and a little bit more in depth of my thoughts, then stay tuned to part 2 of this video, which is gonna be my in-depth review. And we'll definitely hit on all those topics. So guys, let's move right on into the tutorial. Hey guys, welcome to the up close and personal version of myself, and we're gonna get started with this eye look. And of course, you know I always like to start with my prep step. So the first thing I'm gonna go into is my eyeliner, and I'm gonna tight line my upper lash line. For my tight line today, I'm using this pencil from MAC Cosmetics, and this is my only pencil eyeliner from MAC, and I love this color so much that I want an excuse to buy another one. I always look for a reason to use this shade. It is so pretty. Now just hang tight to this pencil because we're gonna use this a little later on in the eye look for our waterline. Now for my next step, I'm going in with some eye primer, and I'm just gonna put this right on top of my eyelid. I have some dry patches on my eye, so eye primer is a necessity for me. Not to mention, I have some pretty severe discoloration on my eye, so this really does help to kind of even everything out and prep it for eyeshadow. And of course, like I've been doing lately, I'm taking the Maybelline Fit Me powder and going ahead and setting this eyeshadow base. Like I mentioned plenty of times already, I really get a lot of different eyeshadow formulas to blend by doing this, so I've been really loving this. Okay, so now we're ready to get into the actual eyeshadow application, and the first brush I'm taking is this really tiny angled brush, and it's very thin. And I'm gonna dip into the deepest shade in this palette called Holy Moly. I think the names are super cute in this palette. It has everything to do with avocados, and I think it's super adorable. So the first step to this eye look is we gotta create a diagonal line. And since I have hooded eyes, I find this part pretty difficult for me because I kind of have to take it a little bit in the crease, which I hate doing. So what I do is I always start in the middle like all of my other eyeshadow looks, and I want to put just a dot where I want to start this line. And I'm gonna go up first. I'm gonna try to angle this toward the front of my eyebrow. And once I get that part done, I'm gonna bring the second half of the diagonal line all the way down to my cheek area. Now I'm gonna take one of these multi-purpose eBay brushes, and I'm gonna give this line kind of a blend upward, just so it doesn't look so harsh when we start building on top of it. The main goal you want to do here is take away any of that line shape. So you want to make it kind of just blend it out so you don't see any definitive line. Okay, so I finished that part, and I do want to quickly point out that I am getting some patchiness with this shade. And last time I did this eye look, I had the same thing happen, and I try to really rectify it by layering up the shadows, but the more I did that, the heavier the eyeshadow looked. So on the same brush, I'm going to take the shade Ripe, which is the next shade in this gradient, and I'm going to start from the middle of this line, and I'm going to kind of let the shade peekaboo up from the top. And then the same brush on the last shade is called Avocado Toast. And with this shade, we're gonna put this on the very top, but you don't wanna go up to your eyebrow. So that little section is done. Now we're gonna work on the outermost triangle. So I'm taking this little tiny angle brush again, and I'm gonna go into the shade Paprika. And I'm gonna look at my lid and put a line down the very center of my eyelid. I'm also going to take that shade and make a line meeting this outer point of the green out here. Now I'm going to take that multi-purpose brush, go back into the shade Paprika, and completely fill in this triangle. Now with that same brush, I'm going to go into the deeper brown called Pit, and I'm going to feather this in the brown from my lower lash line. So I'm just going to start at my lower lash line and take this deep brown and feather it upwards, just along the entire length of that triangle. I'm also experiencing some patchiness with this reddish brown too, and I can't do anything to fix that either. So now I'm gonna take my brush and go into the shimmer shade called Expensive, and I'm gonna put this on the very frontmost part of that diagonal line where the green ends. And then I'm gonna take my brush and blend that shade downward. Now for the front section of my lid, I'm taking the yellow shade called Over Easy. And if I had to pick one shade that was giving me the hardest time from this palette, it would be this shade. So I really had to build this shade up hardcore for this to work, but I put this on the interior lid. Now for this little final part, I'm just gonna take that same brush and go into this beautiful shade called Avocado. And for this part, I found it was the best to load the shadow on the tip of the brush. And I'm just gonna place this in my inner corner. And then I'm gonna start bringing it up to meet with the other metallic shade. I'm also gonna take a little bit on my brush and stick this in my brow bone. Now for the lower lash line, take that pencil that we were using earlier and go ahead and completely fill in your waterline. And then I'm going to take that super small angled brush again and go into the shade called Holy Moly. And I'm going to tightly line my entire lower lash line with this. When I get to this outer point, I'm going to match it up with the brown outer corner triangle. And then lastly, same brush, I'm going to take the shade Lemon Pepper and put this on the front half of the lower lash line. Now you can go ahead and clean up your entire under eye because I had quite a bit of fallout from this palette. And as I'm cleaning up my under eye, I like to go ahead and angle my outside corner a little bit higher. So guys, that's it for the entire eye look. I'm gonna go off camera, do the other eye, put on some good mascara, and then I'll be right back and we can talk about this. Okay guys, so here's the final look, and if you ask me what I think about it, I will tell you that I hate it. In my opinion, it looks super patchy, it looks heavy, and I don't like these colors paired together. I love playing with green eyeshadow, but I'm just not feeling this look at all. I will say this time it did come out a lot better than the one I did on Saturday, but I still just don't like it. Let me know what you think about this color combination in the comments down below. But with all that being said, let's get right into the in-depth review. Hi guys, welcome to the in-depth review portion of this video, and today we're going to be talking about this palette from BH Cosmetics, and it's called the Avocado Toast palette. The first thing I always like to talk about is the palette's packaging, and for this palette, it has a more of a cartoonish vibe. I kind of enjoy the playful take on this, and it's just a simple cardboard construction, and it's functional and kind of adorable. This palette doesn't bend all the way back while you're trying to use it, and inside it does come with a mid-size mirror. Now in here there are 16 different eyeshadows, and I do want to mention that there is one pressed pigment in here, so if you're sensitive to pressed pigments, please be mindful that one does exist in here. So out of the 16 different shades, you're getting 2 formulas. You're getting 9 mattes and 7 metallics. So this palette is comprised of 56% matte shadows, and I prefer matte heavy or a completely balanced palette. Each shadow in here weighs 1 gram, so that's just the average amount of product that you're getting per pan. So let's just go right into our routine data check. This palette is not clarified as being any type of clean or conscious formula. This palette is cruelty-free. It is also vegan, and this also does have a 24-month expiration date, which is located on the back of the palette itself. So our cost evaluation is going to be a little bit different today because this palette is no longer available. When it first launched, the introductory cost of this palette was $18. You can still find this palette available for resale for around the cost of about $12. There's some that cost a little bit more, some that cost a little less. But for today's calculations, we're going to use the average price of $12. So breaking that down into price per shade, we're looking at 75 cents. And breaking that down a bit further, it's also 75 cents per gram. So either way you look at that, whether you're looking at price per shade or price per gram, is relatively affordable. Really quick, I'm going to throw up a picture of some swatches I took from this palette so you can see how every shade looks swatched out. So we're going to get into the most opinionated section of this video, which is my recommendation. So the first four things I always discuss is patching, creasing, staining, and blendability. As far as patchiness, I did experience a ton of patchiness from these shades in here. The worst offender in this palette was this yellow shade over Easy right here. It just looked awful. The more I built it up, the worse it looked. The more deeper shades in here also had patchiness problems, and it was just getting to be really, really difficult for me to use. As far as creasing, I wore my eyeshadow look for 2 hours and I did see signs of creasing. Now regarding staining, even though there is a pressed pigment in here, I didn't have any staining whatsoever. And as far as blendability, I found this formula relatively easy to blend. Now let's talk about the kickback and fallout. All the shades in here had a pretty good amount of kickback. Now as for fallout, as I was using the matte shades, I did get a pretty good amount of fallout on my face. So I'm going to tell you some critiques I have about this palette. I do enjoy that this palette ranges from light to mid-tone to deep, but there is only one option available to create depth, which, really limits its versatility. When I played with every shade in here, I didn't notice any shade redundancy. Each shade seemed to serve a purpose. If you're a person that likes a neutral transition shade, there's one right here for you. And as I was using this, I didn't come across any standout dud shades in here. So anything special about the mattes, I just have to say that they did not perform well in all the aspects I look for a matte to perform. They did not build well, they did not layer well, they blended well, and that's about it. They're also a more directly pigmented formula. So these aren't a type of matte where you're gonna get low pigment and you have to build them. These are gonna give you the pigment instantly. Those type of formulas can be a bit difficult to manage and control, so just be mindful of that. As for the non-mattes, which are the metallics, there are no ultra special shades in here. They're pretty much just a basic metallic. I also attempted all application methods with the metallics. I used my finger, a dry brush, and a damp brush. And you can use any method of application and still get the same result. So I also really enjoy a multifunctional shade like that. Now, if you've always been curious about this palette like I have, and you've been on the fence about picking it up, I definitely say do not get it. I do not recommend this. And of course, I have 3 reasons why I say that. My first reason is because the mattes are super patchy. I know I said that a ton in this video, but a good matte formula makes a palette. You do a lot of your foundation work and building with the mattes, and when those go wrong, your entire look goes wrong. So definitely if it's a patchy formula, you don't want it. My second reason is that this color story is not good for intense looks. I love doing day-to-day looks, so that's probably what I'll use this palette for. But I also love doing really fun, intense, crazy looks, and this palette does not perform for those. So if you're a person that likes doing really fun looks, this palette will not give it to you. And my third reason is that this entire palette is just purely temperamental. Even the most beautiful shades in here will not build and they will not layer. So when you see a color in here that really speaks to you, it does not look the same on your eye as it does in the pan. So as far as my rating, I rated this palette a D. This palette did not work out for me, and I definitely do not recommend it. So guys, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful, and if you did, please give me a giant thumbs up, and if you didn't, just hit that thumbs down button, and until next time,